Thank you, members. In Councillor Murray's absence, could I please have a nomination of chair for the meeting, please?
Yes, thank you, Terry. I would like to nominate Councillor Simon Curry.
Lovely. Take the chair, please.
Right, thank you very much, and welcome to the first subcommittee shareholder board for Kindy Limited. I'll go into the agenda, and welcome to everyone. It might be worth just saying who we are around the table just to start off with. So I'll introduce Claire first. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Councillor Tristan Osborne, Community Safety Enforcement, and with an interest in the CCTV element of Kindy, where you're a provider. Thank you.
I'm Simon Curry. I'm standing in his chair. Councillor Murray, Deputy Leader of the Council, has just arrived, so I'm not sure if we want to just pause and allow her to take her seat for the moment. I'll carry on the introductions while she does that. So I'm the portfolio holder on the Cabinet for Climate Change and Strategic Regeneration.
Thank you, Councillor Curry. I'm the Council's Monitoring Officer and Assistant Director for Legal Services.
I'm Phil Watts. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and the Section 151 Officer for the organisation.
Right, I'll just give Councillor Murray a moment to sit down and then she can take over the role as chair. Thank you. Right, I'll move on to apologies for absence, which we don't have, and any declarations of disposable pecuniary interests and other significant interests. I'm not seeing any of that either, so we're moving on then on to item 4, which is the governance arrangements, and refers to the report that we've had attached to this agenda. I've got Councillor Osborne.
So, firstly, this is the inaugural meeting of this committee, and also a number of others this evening too. So I just want to say firstly, it's I think it's really important that we've actually held this in full public transparency. I think the public expect to be able to understand how different parts of the organisation work, and it's welcome now that we can hold you to account in public, question in public as well around the organisation. Importantly, its business plan, which I understand from the piece that you're due to present in the next 56 days, and people get to understand the direction of travel, and actually potentially can observe and work with us to scrutinise that as well. So I think this is an important step, and it must also be said that this is recognised as SIPFA as well, made it very clear on our council audit report, actually for a number of years now, that we needed to, not because there was any probity issues per se, but they recommended that we move to an approach where there was a professional divide between councillors making executive decisions and our scrutiny function, which is on holding you to account. And I think we've now moved to that model. So I just want to pay my tribute to Bhupinder for all of the work. I know it's been exhausting at some moments in time to get all these, to get this committee set up, and I know you're doing present work with others as well, and I'm hopeful that this will not only give public probity and transparency, but also be the model of best governance, which potentially other places can look at as well in terms of how we can manage. I suppose my first question really is just around the work programme for this. I know it indicates in the Memorandum of Understanding that the business plan will be presented in 56 days. Is that something which you're, I suspect, you're new CEO, so I'm welcome to your post, but that will happen in the next, so we're due another meeting in 56 days. Is there, I suppose the questions I have are, how have you found the transition into the new role? Is there any sort of organisational issues that I need to be aware of at this moment in time? And is the business plan, are you actively involved? Is it drafted, and is it pressing through the directors of the organisation for us to review? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Osborne. I joined Kindy just over 6 months ago, and I can say it's been an absolute pleasure to join the organisation at the time that I have. It's a very exciting time for Kindy and for assistive technology as a whole. The business plan was one of my first things that I needed to look at. I obviously wanted to understand the business in more detail before I started work on the business plan. That is now currently work in progress and has been since early November last year. The whole senior management team are involved, and the plan will be presented to our board before it is presented to yourselves within the 56 days.
Take over. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for waiting for me. I'm afraid I was stuck in traffic. I wanted to add to Councillor Osborne's comments, Claire, because I'm very grateful for the openness that you have shown with me, actually, over the past months. We had a meeting right at the beginning of the administration, and since then I've met Claire and the non-executive directors of Kindy to understand their aspirations going forward, and I thank you for the frankness that you have showed. And I think it's very important to say that Kindy have been frank about the legal status of the committee, the reports that have been made to the police, still unable to discuss and still carrying on, but nevertheless you I think have been very clear about the need for the Board of Kindy to do the right thing alongside the work that you're doing for the council. And actually, I'm looking forward to a positive relationship. Claire's also been to the Health and Wellbeing Board when we had the item on assistive technology, so I think that shows her willingness to open up Kindy and to have a modern approach to what's going on. And I'm only regretful that you've had to take over this organisation at a time when it was in severe disrepute. And I think your background, your understanding of social care and your determination and that of the other non-executive directors to try to wipe the slate clean has been really important and accords with our aspirations to have a different relationship with the operation of Kindy.
Thank you, Chair. Just in terms of the report, I know members will have read the report and consulted widely in relation to the report prior to bringing it here. There are three main documents that the report brings before you for your consideration and approval. Firstly is the terms of reference, setting out what the terms of reference for this committee are, noting that this is a subcommittee of Cabinet and that the Cabinet has delegated powers to this committee to make various decisions in relation to the operation of Kindy Limited. The second document that is before you, it's in Appendix 2, is the Articles of Association. Those are the company's internal rules for making appointments and making decisions. And again, it's a fairly dry document. It's written in legalese. It's been pulled out of the Companies Act, and it's based on a model set of Articles of Association which is set out in the Companies Act. There's been a small amount of fine-tuning to that to make that fit for purpose for this company. And again, members have had sight of that, as has the Chief Executive for Kindy and the board members, and I've reflected various comments that they've made back to the members of this committee in a separate email that is not on the agenda. The third document that the shareholder board is asked to consider is a memorandum of understanding, and that sets out the relationship between the company and its board of directors and this committee. And within that, there is a scheme of delegation whereby this committee grants delegated powers to the board and therefore to the officers as well, in order to undertake and make certain operational decisions without having to come back to this committee to seek approval. And there's going to be a number of things that need to be worked out of an operational nature behind the scenes. And whilst there are some very generic terms in terms of management information and reporting cycles, the detail of that will be ironed out if these are adopted. And finally, it would be remiss of me not to point out the typographical error in recommendation 1.13, which refers to another LATCO that the council has, which says that we recommend that Medway Development Company at its board meeting adopt the revised Articles of Association and Memorandum of Understanding, clearly that ought to be corrected to say Kindy Limited. Other than that, I don't wish to take up any further time. Members will have read the report and the appendices, and if there's any further questions, more than happy to seek to try and address those. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bhupinder. Before I come to you, Simon, I've got another comment to make. And Bhupinder, thank you very much for your work on this and the work of officers in coming forward quickly with some revised governance from the start of our administration when we immediately remove members from the board to have a client-based operation. And Claire, thank you for the comments that you made, particularly on the terms of reference and for the exchange that you had with Bhupinder, because I did feel that you took that very seriously, that it was shared with the board, that everyone in Kindy understands what our expectations were. So what I intend to do is to take the 3 documents one by one, if that's okay, Bhupinder, and ask people if they'd like to comment. But before I do that, Councillor Curry.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Actually, my comment was about the third one on the scheme of delegation. Delegation.
So we'll go through
deal
that.
with that in a moment.
Yeah. So if I go to the terms of reference first, and in terms of recommendations, what we're being asked to do, we've got 2 options: to approve the 3 documents as we inherited them, or to adopt the revised documents. And I'm asking members to debate this on the understanding that it is our intention to adopt the revised documents. Okay. So the first document then is the terms of reference. Has anyone got any comments on that? So I'll take it that we're happy to adopt the revised terms of reference. Okay, thank you. I'm going to move now to the Articles of Association. And Bhupinder, I thank you for your comments on that they have been taken from a credible source and adopted accordingly. I'll take it, Claire, that they've been shared as before with all of the relevant personnel in Kindy, and that we understand that there's a typo in here that can be corrected afterwards. And I think it's been really useful to have some interpretation there at section 2 in the model articles, so that anyone in the public has got the opportunity to understand what the technical terms are and what the acronyms are, and who are the actual external associations and organisations that we're referring to in terms of the articles. So can I take it that there's no further questions on the Articles of Association? Okay. And I think it's particularly important here to be very, very clear about remuneration. That's important, that the directors understand what they can and can't do. That's enshrined in the articles now. And I think the fact that it wasn't before probably led to some of the difficulties that we had in the past. Okay, so I will take it then that we're adopting the revised Articles of Association. Is that agreed, Simon? Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll move to the third document about which you've got some questions.
Thank you very much, Teresa. I just wanted to actually emphasise something about this. This is quite a lot of work. I mean, I appreciate all the work that's gone into this behind the scenes to get us where we are. It's been quite a long process, but it's worked and it's come out very well. Just in terms of the scheme of delegation, I think it's important to note from that how the transparency is so important in decision making here. So, and I suspect there may well be some changes once we get going on this and the business plan is published and we see how that operates. It may be that we feel that the delegation process within that needs to be shifted, but that will always be a cabinet decision and it will always be in public. So if there are any changes in the process, we will always be able to see that. And I just wanted to emphasise the importance of how we're making this as transparent as we possibly can. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. And I think because we've taken guidance from all the credible professional bodies, it does give us the space, as you've indicated, Bhupinder, to make changes where they need to be, but to do that in partnership. And it mandates Kindy to always come to us in order to do that. So I think it would be helpful, Claire, if you could confirm your understanding that that's the case before we approve the Memorandum of Understanding.
Yep, I can confirm that.
Thank you. Tristan.
Yes, thank you. And just a statement, really, as opposed to a question. But clearly, members I mentioned this at the start, are aware of how we've ended up here. I know there's been documented cases in the past. I know that the former organisation has dealt with those, and that presently is being looked at. But actually, looking across the piece, it is now important, I think, for the public. Most important, and I'll stress this again, to understand the structure of these organisations, how they fit with us, and also for a more professional relationship between executive members and third parties. And I think that, in the past, I think that maybe there was a perception, rightly or wrongly, that there was a proximity of relationship between executive and delivery operational bodies. We have to be mindful of that isn't best practice, and that has led to a reputational liability. So I think this clearly there might be changes if it's deemed appropriate, but what this does is it puts into the public domain the relationship and the status of members, so my and other members here with your organisation, and it delivers probity, and it delivers a line which we all have to accept shouldn't be crossed. So I think this is absolutely welcome. I think it sets a direction of travel now which I don't think can be reversed, that executive decision makers need to be held to account in a public place around their engagement with third parties, and at all times that must be taken into account so that we don't end up in similar probity issues that we've had in the past and which have led to investigations elsewhere. So I would like to welcome this and wholeheartedly support it going forward. There will inevitably be teething issues, I suspect, over the next 12 to 18 months as we refine the model, but I think this approach is extremely healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just before we come to approve this, I think it's important to say at this point, Tristan, endorsing what you have said, that we want there to be transparency for the public. We want this to be an organisation that is innovative and making things better for people in Medway. And I think, Claire, under your leadership thus far, a good reputation is being built. I've heard very positive things from the hospital, with Kindy at the front door, and I was impressed with the determination of the non-executive directors, as I say, to wipe the slate clean, and bearing in mind they have stepped into an arena with a very poor reputation, and determined that they would do the right thing, as I said before. But even while all of this governance has had to be sorted out and go through the board, you still have continued the operational work of Kindy, and it's worth reminding people that actually you have generated jobs, and you are, I think you can confirm to us now, fully staffed, and you have made some appointments that certainly the last time I met with you, you felt would mean that Kindy is in a place to actually put into action some of the things that you had in the business plan. So again, that's been done the right way round. You've built in the capacity to make things happen before the business plan is actually shared and approved, and actions attributed to the people within the company who can do it. Okay. Any more questions or comments? Okay, in that case then, I'm going to ask the board to approve the revised adoption of the Memorandum of Understanding, please. That's great. Thank you. Sorry, my screen went off before I did, and usually there's one more. Yep. Yeah, thank you. So we've just got one more recommendation to deal with, and that is recommend that Kindy at its next board meeting adopts the revised Articles of Association and the Memorandum of Understanding as well. So are you able to confirm that, Claire?
Yes, I can confirm.
Thank you very much. And that actually does bring us to the end of the meeting. Thank you.